Peace, family. Peace, family. So, we're starting another episode of Clear Vision with 2020. This one is going to be hip hop commentary. Okay? Hip hop commentary. And today, we are talking about entertainment. What is entertainment? What is our entertainment? Entertainment of non white people. How is that having an effect on non white people? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, a lot of these podcasts that are going to be coming here in the future is going to be inspired by Almighty God Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise and glory is due forever, the Nation of Islam, Neely Fuller Jr., and Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, because we're going to be talking about the system of racism, white supremacy, and how we are going to start countering that system, as well as how we as a people need to start getting ourselves together so we can function as a nation within a nation. So we're talking about entertainment today. Those are the inspirations of these future podcasts that are going to be coming out, as well as just everyday life in general. I shouldn't have to say that. So hip hop today, and this is the reason why I'm asking this question, because I'm reading this book. It's called the Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And in the area of economics, we're talking about celebrating Black culture. This is where I'm at in the book right now. And one of the things it says is do not brag about, celebrate, or try to produce the so called Black culture, either as it was in the past or as it is now. Instead, produce and enact a compensatory counter racist culture. And this is the reason why he said that. If our entertainment isn't producing or going towards the establishment of justice, then we're aiding and abetting the system of white supremacy. I know that's kind of hard for y'all to understand now. I'm just gonna be honest about the situation. If the music isn't productive to the people in the society, then it's conducive to the destruction of it. So we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that today. Entertainment is the entertainment of non-white people destroying non-white people. This is your brother, 2020. You are tuned in to hip hop commentary.
In this current climate, day and time, information needs to be given clearly. In this case, Clear Vision with 2020 is a podcast for the people, by the people, that does exactly that. Your host keeps an open eye and mind when dealing with any issue at hand. We empower our audience with knowledge. You matter. And here, I use my voice to support and represent the people. The people are the human family who loves truth. Logical thinking and conversation skills are required for communication. News, culture, music, and entertainment with a clear look from a different perspective. Clear Vision with 2020.
Peace family, and we are back. So, me being a artist myself, I'm asking this question for a particular reason. And that particular reason being, for the last 20 plus years, I've watched the evolution of the music of what we call hip hop and the culture itself. And I've liked some things and I've disliked others. But the main thing I've disliked out of all of it is the fact that there is no there's no accountability being taken for the type of stuff that we are producing for the masses. Okay. So we can talk from one or two points of reference. We can talk from a creator's point of reference, being an artist, or we can talk from a victim's reference, being that we're victims of white supremacy, racism, white supremacy, and this could be just an effect of what we're going through. Okay, just I'm just throwing something out there, just throwing something out there for us. So now that we're there in that aspect, the next step is to see if what I'm talking about got some legs. So the only thing you got to do really is just go back through the history of the music. You know, they got they hijacked one of our terms, and they is the proponents of racism, white supremacy. That's racist man and racist woman collectively has hijacked one of our terms, and that's being woke. Being woke is being aware of what's going on around you, being conscious. See, they made these words sound like uh, they made these words almost sound like they were insults whenever they were said, whenever they come out the mouth of black people. You know, being conscious, being woke, being aware. You know, I know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? My eyes are open. They was making all of that seem, you know what I'm saying, that they're trying to make that seem like, you know what I'm saying, that's a negative connotation now. Now they took it and put a negative put a negative thing behind it, you know, because you know, as they usually do with all the games that they play with this conservative and with this conservative game and this liberal game, with this right wing game and left wing game, and with this Republican and Democrat, you know, all of them are the same wings, two different wings on the same bird. You're just choosing to look at one wing and not look at the other. That's all it is. Or you see both wings and this is the one you choosing to go under. And now that we know that, it's an actual fact that everybody has in some way, shape, or form, you know, attested and contributed to. We also know that just the mere fact of us doing that, you know what I'm saying, has a bearing on what we think about the world that we're living in, what's going on around us, you know. So you can't deny the fact that music has taken has been a very powerful tool in changing the thought process, the speech, the action, and the emotional response of the people through this music. Sometimes you want to invoke that necessary anger. That anger is supposed to spark change. Just like we're taught. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that With dissatisfaction comes change. And whenever you have 100% dissatisfaction, you're going to have 100% change. And the percentage factor is almost at 100%. Now, it only took 30% dissatisfaction for the original people to create what you call the white man today. Yes, uh, through what Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, calls albino genetic mutations, as well as scientific genetic mutations. You have what we consider the Caucasian race today. That's not being disrespectful, that's just telling it like it is. The black man and woman are the parents of everybody on the planet. Every group of people on the planet come from us. So if you have any melanin in your DNA right now, that comes directly from the black man and woman of the planet, not just of the United States, of the planet. So so-called Mexicans, you are not Mexicans. You are on the land, you are in the land area that's called Mexico by the colonizers of that land area, which were Spanish, probably Caucasian at the time. So they were the colonizers. What was it called before it was called Mexico? And if you know anything about the Olmecs, all you have to do is type in the Olmecs and go to the images, and that's going to tell you who you are. So a little bit of miscegenation, miscegenation, okay, a little bit of mixing of the races caused you to have a little bit lighter skin. That's all that was. All the way up to you so-called white Hispanics. You so-called white Hispanics, you know that you have one person of color, complete person of color in your ancestry. You already know that. So don't even play with the fact. And if you don't, then you're not white Hispanic. You're just classify yourself as white. If you don't have one person of color, and I don't mean mixed race person, I mean person of 100% black person in your family lineage, then you are not considered white Hispanic. You are just considered, classify yourself as white. You got one ancestor that might have been mixed race somewhere in there. But every single person that I'm talking to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have one person of color, complete person of color, black person in your family lineage, then yes, you are. You can call yourself. Don't call yourself a white Hispanic. You're actually a person of color. But you classify yourself in that area so you can get the benefits that racism, white supremacy allows people to have. The closer you are to white, the better. It's just like they said, if you're black, stay back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, stay mellow. If you're white, you right. That was the code. If you're darker than this brown paper bag, you need to go somewhere. If you're lighter than this brown paper bag, you got a chance of passing over here. We all know that already. So now that we know that, how's that affected the area of entertainment? Who's running these entertainment companies? Who has the capital to start these entertainment companies? And then ask yourself this: what are we asking for the people to give us? Being consumers. What is the youth asking for the people to give them being consumers? This is 2022. We can just go back 10 years. 10 years ago, most of y'all was probably still in high school, just coming out of high school. You had a generation that was coming out of college 10 years ago. What was they listening to coming out of college? What was the kids listening to 10 years ago coming out of high school? what was the kids listening to 10 years ago going into high school? You see what I'm saying? So we can look at it. All you got to do is go Google it. But the whole point of the matter is what we've been given the world, has it been uplifting? Has it been producing justice, or has it been causing more harm than good? What has it been doing? Like I said, I think it's been a little bit of both. But you got certain things that outpower others. So since we live in a system of racism, white supremacy, that's having an actual effect on the way that entertainment is being absorbed. This having an effect on the way that entertainment is being made. You know, it's having an effect on how the entertainment is being distributed. Everything from the recording of the songs to the videos. You know, when a person hear your song and tell you that they feel like that you need to be a little more raw, the music just ain't raw enough for me. It gotta be more raw. It gotta be more, you know what I'm saying? It gotta have more, man, you gotta be more hood with it. You know, you gotta be more, you see what I'm saying? When you start hearing that, then that means they want you to get even more violent. We call it ultra violent. Just like ultraviolet rays, you know what I'm saying, are higher frequency rays that you really can't see with your eyes, but they there. They want you to get ultra violent. They want you to take it to a level of violence that ain't never been seen before, just so you can compete with what's going on out here. Because it's been some of these dudes out here that's been doing this music for 10, 15, 20 years. You know, they done gave you 10, 15, 20 years of trap music. They done gave you 10, 15, 20 years of, you know what I'm saying, drill music consistently. You know, I can see why people would rather hear some of the shit, some of the stuff that's out today, you know, than they would rather hear hip hop. You know, I can see why the Vince Staples and the uh, alternate artists that's been, you know what I'm saying, that's been doing anything other than trap drill or, you know what I'm saying, damn near porn rap. I can see why they ain't getting no spins, you know, because ain't nobody's pushing that. And nobody care if you make a song talking about, you know, what's going on in the world right now, unless it's tragic. And I ain't talking about the artist tragic either. Shout out to tragic. But unless it's not, you know what I'm saying, unless it's some negative shit, nobody gravitating to it. They say they want to hear, you know, man, I want to hear about that real shit. Well, you know, is everybody out here trapping now? And I ain't talking about just hustling. I mean, is everybody out here trapping right now? Who out here trapping right now in 2022? Who out here putting their life on the line, selling motherfucking drugs in 2022 right now? I really want to know. You know what I'm saying? And because it's a lot of these dudes out here that's making this music. You know, y'all making the music like y'all making the soundtrack to somebody's life. So that means that y'all still out here doing the same stuff that the generation before mine was doing and the generation since mine been doing. My generation is the reason why y'all turned up now. My generation in the 80s and 90s are the reason why y'all out y'all damn mind right now because of the stuff we was doing to each other. That was letting you know right there that the system of racism, white supremacy was in full effect, 100%. Because we was out there being totally savage. And a savage is a person who's lost knowledge of self, knowledge of themselves, and is living the life of a beast. A savage can be reformed, but a beast can be reformed. The beast is a beast by nature. So our generation is the reason why y'all out here off the damn hook. Y'all out here drilling and damn near killing and killing each other every damn day because that's what we was doing. Because we were victims of the same system y'all victims of. And now it done translated into the music. So you can't even get nobody to listen to you if you ain't killing somebody. You can't even get nobody to listen to you if you ain't out here trapping and moving pounds and all of this shit. You can't even get nobody to listen to you if you ain't out here disrespecting women. If you ain't out here talking crazy on the microphone. You can't get respected for having skill and nice, a nice flow and some skill. You know what I'm saying? But you can kill niggas all day long and you get that respect. Oh man, you hear what he said, man? Come on, we all know. I mean, just tell the truth, man. Just tell the truth. That's all I'm saying. So now that we know this, we need to start talking about what's next. We need to start talking about what's next. So, in the spirit of us gathering our thoughts, I'm gonna hit you with this quick ad, and we'll be right back with the rest of this conversation. This is your brother 2020. You're listening to Clear Vision with 2020 Hip Hop Vibes, Hip Hop Commentary. I am back after after that brief um, commercial break there. So we're talking about entertainment, and we're talking about the effect entertainment is having on non-white people around the world. Now, knowing what we know about entertainment and knowing that it is one of the nine areas of people activity in the world, that seems to have had the most effect as far as being able to project our image around the world. Now, since I've been studying Neely Fuller Jr.'s book and reading the ISIS papers by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, as well as listening to her lectures and stuff, I'm starting to draw a conclusion. And this is a very important question that most black people are going to have to start asking themselves here soon. If they're capable of doing so, if they're capable of being honest with themselves, and if they're capable of looking at a system in and of itself, what role do you play in racism, white supremacy? Ask yourself that. What role do you play? Because you are either a supporter, participant, whether consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously, or you are a counter racist, or you're countering the system of racism, white supremacy. So you're either supporting it or you're trying to dismantle anybody that's in the middle. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. Anybody that's in the middle right now is in compliance. Anybody in the middle right now is in compliance. Why do I say that? I say that because if you are not doing anything to destroy the system of racism, white supremacy, and you don't like racism, you don't like prejudice, you don't like bigotry, you don't like discrimination, you don't like uh, appropriation, you don't like affirmative action, and all this other stuff, and you're not doing anything to destroy the system that set all of that stuff up, then you're in the middle. And since you're in the middle, like I said, you're compliant. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to mess your stuff up. You don't want, you know what I'm saying? You don't want them people. You don't want them folks looking at you. You don't want them people looking at you. You don't want them tapping your phones and looking at you all crazy because you're deciding to fight the power. Like Public Enemy says, see, when Public Enemy was fighting the power, we was just sitting back. Excuse me. A lot of us wasn't participating in fighting the power. We was just listening to the song and calling ourselves cussing white people out if they started even acting stupid. I was one of them. I ain't gonna lie, because I didn't know anything about the system of racism, white supremacy like I know about it now. But I knew something wasn't right. I knew something was going on. So I was observing the unwritten laws because the written laws only support the unwritten laws. And if you don't know the unwritten laws, according to racism and white supremacy, then you're really not going to understand the written laws because you might think the written laws apply to everybody, but they don't. Those written laws only apply to a certain group of people. And when I say they only apply to a certain group of people, only a certain group of people can use those laws to the fullest extent that they're written. When you try to do it, they're going to find a way to put you in your place. Now, I just want to throw this in as a disclaimer. All of the things that I'm saying, all of the things that I'm saying right now are in conjunction with the system that we're living in right now. If you want to produce black self respect, black self love, black self determination, and be who you want to be in this world, my suggestion to you would be to either get around your people and start talking to them about this code and having them individually apply this code in their own lives if they can and learn as much about it as they possibly can in your part of of town, or you go to a section of the white neighborhood as you're getting their help, you bring that information and that help back to your own community if you can. You don't ask your people for anything. You go and try to provide something for your people because they are in need right now. And justice, besides being the act of fair dealing, justice is also helping those who need help the most and balancing out the relationship between people. And that's me paraphrasing. I'll talk about that definition of justice that Dr. Neely Fuller gives a little bit later on in this podcast. But so understanding your role on the planet right now when it comes to your people in the system of racism and white supremacy, it's going to probably hurt a lot of people when they figure out what it is. Some people probably not going to care. And they'll say it is what it is. Hey, it's getting me what I need right now. So I'm not going to complain. Well, as long as you don't go back and try to help nobody. Let me say it like this. As long as you don't go back and try to directly help your people by building something for them with the money that you got, doing whatever you did in the entertainment world that's under this system of racism and white supremacy, then whatever you receive and you go back to your neighborhood and you try to build something up and they see you doing that, what do you think they're gonna ask you to do when you come back to do that movie again or record that thing again? They're gonna give you a role and they're gonna give you millions of dollars to play it. So once again, let me ask, whether you do music, whether you do movies, whether you do television, podcasts, videos, no matter what it is, whether you're on the acting side, the directing side, the writing side, the producing side, what role are you playing in the system of racism, white supremacy when it comes to non-white people, when it comes to your people? I'm talking specifically to black people because we're the victims of racism, white supremacy, and a lot of us really don't know that we are. Okay? A lot of us really don't know we are. It's a system, concepts, and code among white people for genetic survival in a world that's 9/10 people of color who have the genetic capability to annihilate anything other than black. So there's black, brown, yellow, and red people. Those are all the people that have the genetic material to annihilate what we consider Caucasian people or white people. So these people who put the system into play were thinking about their survival. A lot of white people might not be there are some white people or possibly a lot of white people subconsciously that are not proponents to racism, white supremacy. They just don't know what it is, and they don't know if they're participating in it or not through their thought, speech, action, and emotional response to people that are non-white. Let me say that again. There are some white people on the planet who probably are not supporters or proponents of racism, white supremacy, but they don't know what it is, how it works in a world that's predominantly people of color. They don't know how it works. They don't know what it is. They have no idea. Now, once you do find out, you're going to have a choice to make. You're either going to be in support of racism, white supremacy, which is incorrectness, and injustice, and the most destructive, non judicial, non corrective system on the planet today, or you're in support of the destruction of white supremacy as a system. So you are in tune with wanting a world of justice and correctness. And you know I'm a family man, so you're gonna hear kids in the background here and there just for right now because I'm remotely doing these podcasts until I get a few other things taken care of with my digital computer equipment. Then we'll be back to, the quiet setting where it's not gonna be any distractions or anything like that. Plus, I'm about to set up a whole new system where I'm gonna be doing the video and the audio all together at once, and we're gonna be able to put them out on different platforms. So, just just stick with your brother. I'm getting a few things taken care of, but what I want to do right now is I want to go and fetch this definition from Dr. Fuller real quick here. Hey,
Peace, family. This is your brother 2020 from Clear Vision with 2020. And I got a question for you. Have you ever asked yourself, where can I get some truthful, unbiased news that gives me the whole story and doesn't just give me half of it or what somebody wants me to hear? Well, we have a solution for you today. Listen to what I'm saying. We have a solution for you today, and it is called the Final Call newspaper. This is the only independent, black-owned and operated newspaper in the world, and it's published right here out of America, right here in America. You get this newspaper once a week, and it's going to have articles about everything that you could think of that has to do with Black America and the world. So go to www.finalcalldigital.com. Get your digital edition. It'll go right to your tablet, right to your desktop, right to your mobile phone. All right. This is your brother 2020, and we're out. Peace.
Now, justice, according to Dr. Fuller, like I said, it's the act of fair dealing as far as the actual definition goes. Okay. Now, the compensatory code, the definition of justice is balance between people, guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person who needs help the most, gets the most constructive help. So when you're trying to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice, now you have to practice the art of fair dealing and making sure that no one gets mistreated and that the ones who need help the most gets the gets that help, the most constructive help to bring them back to where they need to bring back to. So now once again we're talking about self-improvement. Once again we're talking about self-improvement, the basis of community development, and one of the ways that you can get self-improvement is by understanding racism and white supremacy, which is the system that you're in right now as a non-white person, and practicing codified behavior in order to combat and utterly destroy the system of white supremacy, racism, white supremacy, and replace it with justice, truth, and correctness. And the things that we strive for, being brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, is free truth, freedom, justice, and peace. Truth, freedom, and justice brings peace. And Islam is peace. If you're practicing it in the correct way, if you're trying to destroy the system of racism, white supremacy. So, in the entertainment field, once again, what we're coming back to, what role are you playing as an entertainer? Now, talking to white people, what role are you playing as an entertainer if you don't like racism, white supremacy to destroy the system? And if you're not playing any role at all, then you're in compliance with racism, white supremacy, and you don't have a problem with it. So don't go talking to any non-white person when they say anything about race or racism. Do not go talking about any non-white person saying anything about that if you are not participating in destroying the system. If you're making all of your little money and doing all your little stuff like a lot of these actors and actresses do, and then as soon as somebody black has something to say about racism, especially in the field of entertainment, they are the first people who want to speak up and run their mouth, talk about it's not no such thing as racism. The same white people that are able to function properly in the system of racism and white supremacy all by themselves without no help. Get every little perk that they can possibly get. But you're telling somebody who experienced racism, that they don't need to be complaining about that. How would you know what it is if you've never been a victim of it? You can't tell a victim of racism that they shouldn't complain about it. That's like telling a victim of domestic violence that they shouldn't have a problem with being domestically battered. They shouldn't call the police. They shouldn't complain about it. Just get out of the relationship. Can we get out of this relationship of racism, white supremacy? Can we divorce ourselves from this? Can we break up with this? Can we move out of white supremacy, racism, white supremacy? Can we move into truth, justice, correctness, and peace? I mean, think about it. Just ask yourself that. Ask yourself that question. And then in the area of entertainment, what role are we playing? White and black people, male and female, or whatever you want to call yourself. I consider male and female. That's just me. That's how it's always going to be. If I have to address you a certain way, if I ever talk to anybody else other than having these podcasts myself, then I'll ask them respectively what they want to be called, and I'll call them what they want to be called respectfully. Because I'm understanding now the roles that these people want to play. They want to play these roles in this world of racism, white supremacy, that'll probably enable them to move a little bit better. So, what I chose to do, being an artist myself, I was heavily involved in the killing of my people, pretty much as far as music is concerned. Um, I almost got physically involved in it with the gang situation when I was a teenager. But like I said, my brother Kofi came and put a bug in my ear, woke me up. I started paying attention to what was going on around me, and that led me directly to my brother Harrison Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And ever since then, I've been thinking of ways to try and give back to my people what I should have been giving them when I first started taking this music journey. So, being in a small city, in a small town, yeah, you can experience the same type of systemic racism that everybody talks about, but they don't want to talk about the system itself. And you can start perpetrating those particular actions. You can start perpetrating that mindset and then acting it out. No matter if it's 40 of y'all or if it's 5,000 of y'all. Out of that 5,000, you're gonna probably have about 600, maybe 1,000 that's gonna be acting all out of their character, being victims of racism, white supremacy, and not having anybody else to take their anger and frustration out on except for their own people. This is just a symptom of behavior. This is a symptom and behavior of white supremacy, racism. If you hate yourself, that's the reason why you do. Somebody told you that. Somebody set it up to where you don't see yourself being represented, so you have to be yourself. In 2022, why are we still having the first anything black? Think about that. Why are we still having the first anything black? Just think it over. So what I decided to do after I got knowledge of self, and it was one of the hardest things for me to do because I had to realize that the way that this industry is set up for us to profit on our destruction. I wasn't really looking at it like that. Like not at all. I'm gonna make this music, we're gonna get up out of here, and then I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Didn't work that way. First, the system itself was working against us because since we didn't know what it was and we was too busy hating each other and going around doing all the stuff that we was doing to each other, and making our neighborhoods unsafe and dangerous places to be, there was nobody around that was actually doing the music that had any idea what to do on the business side. They just had a couple of people come drop something in their ear. Oh, you can go get this piece of equipment. Oh, you can go do this. Oh, you can go do that. Oh, you can build a booth. Oh, but they wasn't giving us no rules to the game. You see, that's a part of white supremacy right there, putting you on the chessboard, but you don't know what moves to make. So if you don't know how to make the moves, how are you going to effectively go to war with the opposite side of the chessboard that's trying to get to your king? So not knowing this stuff, we was just in a rut. We was all out here. We was making this music, we was talking what we was talking, we was doing what we was doing, you know, and all of a sudden it all stopped. And it all stopped due to the fact that we're still living in the system of racism, white supremacy, and we're still abusing one another and misusing one another. So when we didn't get the help we needed to get, when we didn't have the ways and the means to do what we needed to do, and we was just still trying to, we was just basically out on a limb, you might as well say, it eventually all came to a halt. Because what happened was life ended up taking over. We started having children, we had bills to pay, children to take care of. So, and that's another component of racism and white supremacy is employment, or what they would call labor. So we had to deal with the system and the labor, having to bite our tongue, not do this, not do that. Somebody might have something to say that we don't like. We can't overreact to it, or we'll lose our job. But now we have a code that we can go by, to where we're not going to be doing all of that, acting out of our character and having the emotional response that racism, white supremacy expects us to have when they start barreling down on us. Another disclaimer: I'm not saying none of this stuff for any of my people to go out here and hate white people, or for white people to hate other white people for this system that's been put in motion, that's been put in play. We just need to learn what it is and how it works, and we need to maneuver in it until we can destroy it. And everything that we do should be in conjunction with the destruction of the system altogether, to bring balance between people, to make sure no one gets treated unfairly or gets mistreated, and to ensure that whoever needs the most help gets the most constructive help, while we are doing everything we can to practice the art of fair dealing. The art of fair dealing and balance between people, the same thing. It's the same thing. And if it ain't the same thing, it's two pieces of a puzzle that fit right together perfectly. So this is where we at today. And as far as the entertainment go, it's people out here that's starting to withdraw themselves from participating in the destruction of the minds, the emotional and mental aspect of our people. But we have to get used to listening to things that are different. Now I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do a review on Kendrick Lamar's new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. That album is a perfect example of hip hop music. Perfect example. So I got one more break, and then we're gonna go ahead on and come to the conclusion of this entertainment podcast. All right, it's your brother 2020. You're listening to Clear Vision, hip hop commentary. Peace, family. So, in our conclusion to entertainment, now that we're starting to get an idea, understand the type of setup that's going on out here in the world that we living in, now that we're starting to understand what this system is and starting to look at it a little bit differently, some things are going to have to change up. So, we all know that the entertainment that we listen to now is a reflection of the life that we live, and in a sense, the life that we want to live in some cases as well. So, now that we know that, and now that we know the type of effect that music is having on the people, I'm gonna make it. Let me make this quick point. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give an example. Lil Wayne is a perfect example, and the reason why I say he's a perfect example is because the music that he did was considered as raw as you can get. You know, mixtape Weezy. You know what I mean? He took it to he stretched it. He stretched the limit, but it was always something intellectual in the music. If you could get past the title, and if you could get past some of the stuff that he said, you can find something in there that he was saying that was making sense, especially after he, you know what I'm saying, he got older. You know what I mean? So, he knew what to give the youth, he knew what to give to people his age as well. Now, he was just recently at an Anita Baker concert, okay? Anita Baker. Anita Baker specifically seen him in the audience and shouted him out on the stage at her concert. He got up, didn't nobody know he was there. You know what I'm saying? Weezy don't make music like that anymore, like a lot of people think he do. He can drop an album whenever he wants to, but he's not out in the public like that. He's not out making, you know, he's not out doing the things that he was doing when his career was in full swing. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he was at an Anita Baker concert ought to tell y'all something, okay? That ought to tell you rappers something. That at the end of the day, we are men and women, and we have different tastes. And it's not nothing wrong for us to be able to go somewhere that we like to go and do something that we like to do, whether we're famous or not. But in this system of racism, white supremacy, you have to be sure, and you can best believe it. First of all, you have to be sure what you want to do, and you have to make sure you're around people that's going to help you execute your vision. Because if you're not, somebody's going to try to hijack it and they're going to turn it into their agenda. And you might get turned in the process. So, to these entertainers, artists, you know, whatever genre of entertainment you're in, whether you are white or non white, understand that you are operating in a system of racism, white supremacy. And if you don't understand that, everything else you think you understand is just going to confuse you. It's a lot of artists out here that really don't understand what goes on behind closed doors in some of these industry parties and some of these industry functions, but they starting to find out. You see what I'm saying? And in order for you to even get access to anything like that, you definitely have to be in complete compliance to and do everything told to you to support racism, white supremacy before you can even see anything like that. Don't lose sight. See, this is what they mean by selling your soul. You see what I'm saying? You're not literally selling your soul that's inside your body to anything. What you're doing is you're just damaging. by participating in what you participate in as far as this entertainment industry go. So, once again, adding on to what I just said, being an artist, you also have to make sure that you're doing what it is you want to do. But if your duty is to correct any of the problems, if your duty is to give justice to the unjust in this system, then you're going to be fought against tooth and nail. Believe that. You're going to have to figure out your own way to get your message out there. That's what I got to do. See, because I'm not playing the game of the industry. I'm not doing it. So I got to find another approach. And that approach has to be a constructive approach. If it's not constructive, I ain't dealing with it. You know. So another thing for you artists, if you really do want to be constructive, you know what I'm saying? It'll be a good idea for you to limit your circle. And when y'all move around together or y'all move around by yourself and do what y'all need to do. Because taking the entourages with you, everybody in the entourage is probably not going to be on the same thing that you're on. And if they're not, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have to watch people. So, my conclusion is being in the entertainment field, in the system of racism and white supremacy, as long as you're not correcting the system, they'll give you anything you want. As long as you abide by what they say, as long as you do everything in support of the system, you can get whatever you want. As soon as you start going against the system, that's when you start getting the stories that you've been probably seeing for the last 50, 60 years. When you start speaking against the system, that's when you start getting the murders and the deaths that come up out of nowhere. So just be careful. Being an artist, being in entertainment, in whatever field you are in, just make sure you are careful in everything that you do. And with that being said, this is your brother 2020, and I'm signing off. Thank you for being here with me. Comment, share, download, pick apart, and think about everything that I said in this podcast. All right, y'all have a wonderful day. It's your brother 20, and I'm out. Peace.